Dear viewers, welcome to our channel GVS Bank Academy. Today I am going to discuss recalled questions of Principle and Practice of Banking JIP. This is part 7. We had already uploaded up to part 6. Today I am going to discuss question number 116 to 130, which are very important and relevant for the forthcoming examinations. Question number 116, Wholesale Banking. Wholesale banking means doing business with industrial organizations and industrial and business entities, organizations, mostly corporate customers and trading houses. Means they are doing wholesale, means in a big manner, including multinational companies, domestic business houses and companies, and prime public sector companies. Means wholesale banking means opposite to retail banking. So this is doing business with business entities, multinational companies, domestic business houses called as wholesale banking. Question number 117, legal measures of recovery. How we are going to recover legal measures and non-legal measures of recovery. How banks are going to recover the dues. One is legal measures by taking legal remedial actions. What are the actions? Taking initiation of action under SARFAESI, filing a case with debt recovery tribunal, filing civil cases, civil suits, and filing liquidation of the company or liquidation of the organization, all will come under recovery legal measures. By taking a legal action of SARFAESI, debt recovery tribunal, civil suits, and liquidation, these are comes under legal measures. What are the non-legal measures of recovery? Means sale of NPA. Bank is selling the NPA to asset reconstruction company, or bank is selling the NPA to other banks or other financial institutions. That is sale of NPA. Now bank is recovering the amount through compromise with the customer. Various compromise schemes, banks are recovering the money. That is called recovery through compromise. So sale of NPA and recovery through compromise is non-legal measures. Legal measures of recovery. This is SARFAESI action, DRT, civil. So these two, question number 117, they are asking not only in JAB, in promotional exam also they are asking 117. Now 118, it is very important for all the purposes. Bill of lading, dock warrant, bill of lading, shipping bill, dock warrant, warehouse keeper certificate, warehouse certificate, railway certificate, RR. Warrant or order for delivery of goods, any order issued for delivery of goods, and any other document used in the ordinary course of business as proof of possession. These all the documents are, a person who is having this document, it shows that the person is having a proof of possession of that goods. So bill of lading, dock warrant, warehouse keeper certificate, railway receipts, warrant or order in the ordinary course of business as proof of possession or as control of goods. And these are also treated as quasi-negotiable instruments. All these documents will be treated as quasi-negotiable instruments or mercantile document of title to goods. In the business, these documents are called as mercantile document of title to goods, where it has been defined. This is the question. So these all the document as quasi-negotiable instruments or mercantile document of title to goods, where this definition was given. That is important. Section 137 of Transfer of Property Act 1882. So section 137 of Transfer of Property Act, these documents are defined as quasi or mercantile documents of title to goods. This is 118, very important. This 119 question relating to letters of credits. UCPDC, Uniform Customs and Practice for Documentary Credits, came into effect with effect from 1st July 2007. The same UCPDC 600 is still continuing. That is there. Now, various types of letter of credit which are important. Red clause letter of credit. Exporters, under this red clause letter of credit, the exporters bank is going to sanction pre-shipment packing credit for manufacturing or for procuring or manufacturing or shipment of goods. The exporter, the beneficiary, is going to get a finance, pre-shipment finance from the exporters bank based on red clause letter of credit. Red clause. Exporter will get, the beneficiary will get free shipment. Green clause LC. Under green clause LC, the exporter not only getting packing credit free shipment, but also he will get warehousing charges. Packing credit he will get, and whatever the warehousing charges he is paying, that also we can get from the exporters bank. This is green clause LC. Revolving LC, revolving letter of credit. So when the importer is continuously doing the import throughout the year, at that time banks are going to sanction revolving letter of credit because the importer is continuously importing the goods throughout the year. At that time we can sanction a limit. Within that limit the export is going to avail the limit. Amount made available means that the limit is available to the beneficiary again and again within the limit for further drawing. So within that limit, the benefit, the LC party can utilize the amount. That is called revolving. Revolving means within that limit, party is going to avail. Transferable LC. Transferable LC, letter of credit. The beneficiary, the exporter, is entitled. The beneficiary means exporter is entitled to transfer the LC, which he has received in whole or part amount to the second manufacturer or second beneficiary. So when the exporter or the beneficiary is unable to meet the exported commitment, at that time he is going to transfer whole amount of the LC or part amount of the LC to the second beneficiary. Second beneficiary is a manufacturer or supplier of the goods in this case. A transfer letter of credit can be transferred only once. This question also is. Now, back-to-back letter of credit. Back-to-back letter of credit. The beneficiary in whose favor an LC is issued. If, for example, the beneficiary, the exporter, received a export LC, for example. The beneficiary received an export LC, but the exporter, the beneficiary, is not a manufacturer, just like he is a trader in the goods. So at that time, is the exporter, the beneficiary, is going to request his bank on the security or on the basis of export LC, please issue local domestic LC in the local supplier. That is called back-to-back letter of credit. The beneficiary in whose favor an LC is issued uses the same on the security of this LC, foreign LC. The beneficiary is requesting to open another credit that is domestic credit, domestic letter of credit from his bank in favor of his supplier. So, back-to-back letter of credit means on the security of the export LC, the exporter is requesting his bank for issuing a domestic LC in favor of his supplier. This is called back-to-back LC. Now, further, we had uploaded one YouTube regarding this letter of credit. Anybody interested, please watch this also. This is 119. This is very important slide. Normally, each and every examination, every time, you are getting 1 or 2 marks. Now, 120. As of today, this is very, very important. Why? Recently, 1st July 2020, as per the MSME Act, Micro, Small, Medium Enterprise Development Act 2006 was amended by the Government of India. Classification of MSME or the definition of MSME dependent on two factors. One is investment in plant and machinery. Here investment means original investment in plant and machinery, number one, and turnover of the enterprise. Based on these two factors, as per MSME Act 2006, that you have to remember this MSMED Act 2006 amended from 1st July 2020. 1st July 2020, they had revised the classification of MSME. What is there? Micro enterprises, where the investment in plant and machinery, original investment in plant and machinery or equipment does not exceed 1 crore. So, plant and machinery or equipment does not exceed 1 crore and turnover does not exceed 5 crores. That if any unit is there in this category, that is called as micro enterprises. That is micro. Then small enterprises. Small enterprises, where the investment, original investment in plant and machinery or equipment does not exceed 10 crores. So small enterprises means investment does not exceed 10 crores and turnover does not exceed 50 crores. So this is the definition for small enterprises. Now, medium enterprises, where the original investment in plant and machinery or equipment does not exceed 50 crores and the turnover does not exceed 250 crores. So that is called as, it will come under medium enterprise. Medium enterprise. So micro means investment 1 crore, turnover 5 crores. Small means investment 10 crores, turnover 50 crores. Medium means investment 50 crores, turnover 250 crores. For this turnover purpose, exports of goods and services or both shall be excluded. So exports of goods or services, whatever the amount is involved in that sales, that is going to be excluded. So this classification, two things you have to remember. One is MSMED Act 2006. The definition depends upon investment in plant and machinery and turnover of the enterprise. Sometimes they are asking MSMED Act 2006. Sometimes they are asking this micro, small, medium. Now, 121. All scheduled commercial banks, regional rural banks, and scheduled primary cooperative banks covered under the Banking Ombudsman Scheme. The Banking Ombudsman Scheme is applicable to scheduled commercial banks, RRBs, and scheduled primary cooperative banks. Now, that is 122. Banking Regulation Act 1949, Section 26A, BR Act Section 26A, DEAF, Deposit Education and Awareness Fund Scheme, interest rate payable on unclaimed interest bearing deposit. So unclaimed deposits which are transferred to RBI after 10 years, inoperate or unclaimed deposit, what rate of interest RBI is paying? Now there is an amendment recently from 11th May 2021. Now RBI is paying only 3% simple interest per annum. From 11th May 2021, on these balances, banks will only 3%. From 1st July 2018 to 10th May 2021, banks will get on the balance amount 3.5%. 3.5%. And up to June 2018, 30th June 2018, banks will get 4%. So, from 11th May 2021, banks are eligible 3%. 1st July 2018 to 10th May 2021, 3.5. Earlier 4%. So this is a amendment. Amendment is very, very important for any examination also. Now 123, provision coverage ratio. This is a stock question. Normally, this question they are asking in principle and practice of banking, accountancy, or legal paper, and CIB, ABM, BFM, retail, any point. So provision coverage, promotion exam also. Provision coverage ratio means all banks has to declare the provision coverage ratio along with their quarterly results. What is meant by provision coverage ratio is equal to against the NPA advances, how much provision they had made. That is the provision coverage ratio. Total outstanding NPA, this is the denominator. Numerator is total provision against NPA advances. What is the total provision in NPA advances of substandard, doubtful 1, doubtful 2, doubtful 3 plus loss assets? Provision. total provision against NPA, substandard, doubtful and loss assets divided by total outstanding NPA into 100, you will get provision coverage ratio. All banks have to declare this provision coverage ratio along with their quarterly publication of results. So when a bank is having a higher provision coverage ratio, means against 100 rupees NPA, the bank is making a good amount of provision, higher amount of provision. So higher the provision coverage ratio is best. Now this is question number 124, mortgage by conditional sale. Now compulsory these questions are in principles and practice of banking and a legal paper also. Why? Because mortgage of securities, mortgage defined under Transfer of Property Act, section 54. Mortgage by conditional sale, mortgage by conditional sale, because this is very important in the banking day-to-day functioning. So transfer defined under mortgage defined under Transfer of Property Act section 54. Under section 54, mortgage by conditional sale, subsection C, 54 subsection C, mortgage by conditional sale. Now, where the mortgager, the borrower, ostensibly appears or he is stated as true, sells the mortgage property to the bank. So, under this mortgage, the mortgager is selling the property to the bank, mortgagee. Then, what are the conditions? At the time of selling the property, he is putting two conditions. On condition that on default on payment of the mortgage money, so mortgager defaulted the mortgage loan amount on a certain date, the property shall become absolute. Absolute. So total or universally valid, clear sale ho jayega. It will become clear sale. So on condition that on default of payment of the mortgage money, the sale, whatever the sale which has done by the mortgager, that will become absolute, clear, universally valid sale. Or on condition that on such repayment made by the party, the sale shall become void. So after creating this mortgage by conditional sale, as per the agreement date, mortgager has paid the money, the sale is going to become void. Void means invalid. That is there. And on condition that such payment, on condition that on such payment being made, the buyer shall transfer the property to the seller. This is there. Now 125, whistleblower policy. Whistleblower policy. This is ethics. Very important question. Last time we had given 4 or 5 marks, a small case study. 125, whistleblower policy is an internal mechanism. All banks that started this whistleblower policy is an internal mechanism of bank established for staff to report to management, top management, about unethical behavior of the staff member, manipulation of data by the higher officials or employees, or actual suspected fraud. So this is against the employees, all the employees, then even top management also they can do. The whistleblower policy means internal mechanism of bank established for staff to report management unethical behavior, manipulation of data and suspected fraud. They are going to report to under whistleblower. What type of concerns can be reported through whistleblowing policy? Allegations of fraud, any corruption issues, unethical behavior of misconduct, concerns regarding questionable business practices or plans. So, if whatever the businesses are there, that is also against the banking. Warning about particular risk arising unchecked. So, against this, the employees are going to up this. To whom they will report? Chief Vigilance Officer or Chairman of Audit Committee of the Board. It may be Chief Vigilance Officer of the bank or Chairman of the Audit Committee of the Board. The employees can report this fraud. And listed companies. Same is there in the listed companies, and all banks as of today listed in the stock exchanges. And all banks are listed in the stock exchanges. Clause number 49 of SEBI listing agreement applicable. So accordingly, this clause number 49 of SEBI listing agreement also, all the listed banks, listed companies, they have to follow and implement the whistleblowing policy. So last time 4 or 5 marks case study given December 2020 principle and practice of banking. They had given minimum 4 marks on this issue. NI Act, Section 126, NI Act, some important sections. 1 or 2 sections. So I am discussing 5 or 6 sections. Every time I will use to discuss each time presentation. I will discuss at least 6 to 7. Over a period of time, I am going to complete all NI Act important sections. What are the important sections? Section number 4, promissory note. Definition for a promissory note. Promissory note is an unconditional undertaking. This you have to remember. Promissory note means unconditional undertaking. Section 5, Bill of Exchange. Bill of Exchange, an unconditional order. Bill of Exchange is an unconditional order drawn by the maker. Drawn by the maker. This is Bill of Exchange, an unconditional order. Section 6, check, including electronic check or check truncation system. So Section 6, check, including electronic check, including CTS, check truncation system. That is there. Section 10, payment in due course. Very, very important. Payment in due course means at the time of payment, banker has to pay to the apparent tender in good faith and without any negligence. At the time of making payment, the banker has to the apparent tender in good faith and without negligence. If he can pay, he will get payment in due course. Section 16, endorsement in full. Amount mentioned into the order of a specified person. At the time of endorsement, they are mentioning the name of the endorsee. That is called endorsement in full. Transfer. Now, Section 20, in short instruments. In short means incomplete instrument, where some important material things are blank. That is called in short, incomplete instrument. This question is repeatedly they are asking in the exam. Section 23, Section 22, 3 days of grace for calculating maturity date of usance bills. At the time of calculation of due date of usance bills, we are adding 3 days of grace for calculating. That is given as per Section 22 of NI Act. Now, Section 26, very, very important. Minor may draw. This is about minor. Minor may draw, endorse, accept a negotiable instrument as to bind all the parties under this drawing, endorsement, acceptance, but to accept himself. But he is not liable. He can make the liable all the remaining parties except himself. That is called Section 26. Minor may draw, endorse, accept a negotiable instrument has to bind all parties in that instrument except minor. That is called Section 26. This is some important sections under NI Act. Endorsement. In the principle and practice of banking, they are asking 1 or 2 questions on endorsement. Endorsements mean transfer. Endorsements in full, just now we are discussing. If the endorser, the transferor, signs his signature, and if he adds a direction to pay the amount mentioned to a particular person or to the order of a specified person, that is called endorsement in full. If the endorser, transferor, signs, and if he adds a direction on the back of the check to pay the amount mentioned in the check or this to the order of a specified person, that is called endorsement in full. Sans recourse endorsement. Sans recourse endorsement. This is a little bit more important. An endorsement that says that the endorser, the transferor, does not want to incur any liability in the case of dishonor. If the document was not honored, the endorser is not going to take any liability. That is called sans recourse endorsement. So, in an endorsement, that says that the endorser, transferor, does not take to incur any liability if the instrument is not honored, means it is dishonored. It is also called without recourse. Facultative endorsement. Facultative endorsement means in that endorsement, the endorser waives the condition of notice of dishonour. In this case, in the endorsement itself, by mentioning the facultative, in the event of the notice of dishonour, the endorser is himself agreeing that the notice of dishonour not required to me. That is called facultative endorsement. This is about endorsement. This is 128. 128. Categorization of mutual funds, reclassification of mutual funds, rationalization of mutual funds. Then we will do SEBI. So SEBI is the regulator. For all type of mutual funds, SEBI is the regulator. That's why categorization of mutual funds, reclassification, reorganization and rationalization of mutual funds done by Securities Exchange Board of India. Circular dated 6/10/2017. This is the circular dated. The circular is very important. One or two questions they are asking this. What are the various types of mutual fund schemes? This is the question. The schemes, the types of mutual fund schemes would be broadly classified in the following 5 categories. 5 categories. What are the 5 categories? The schemes of mutual funds would be broadly classified by SEBI in the following groups. One is equity schemes, means this mutual fund is going to invest in equity shares. Second one is debt schemes. Under this scheme, the mutual fund is going to invest in only debt, means debt instruments, debentures, bonds, such type of non-convertible debentures, etc. Hybrid schemes. This is going to invest either equity or debt, and hybrid schemes means convertible debentures, convertible bonds. That is also comes up. One is equity, another one is debt scheme, third one is hybrid scheme. Fourth one is solution-oriented schemes. Name itself is different. Solution-oriented. Whom the mutual funds are going to give solution. One is children's. For the benefit of children, solution-oriented scheme. Or for the retirees, retirement fund, that is also called as solution-oriented schemes. Solution-oriented schemes are two types. One is children's fund, another one is retirement fund. Under both these schemes, solution-oriented schemes of children's fund and retirement fund, there is an initial lock-in period of 5 years. Both attracting a lock-in period of 5 years. This question they are asking in the examination. For the retirement fund, what is the lock-in period? 5 years. Where it will come? Solution-oriented scheme. And other schemes. Fifth one is other schemes. Other schemes other than equity, other than debt, other than hybrid, other than solution-oriented schemes. What are the other schemes? They are going to invest in index-oriented funds. Sensex 30, BSE 30, NSE, investment, index-based investments, funds, and fund of funds. One fund of funds means one mutual fund can invest in other mutual funds. Fund of funds means one mutual fund is going to invest in another mutual fund. That is called funds of funds. So this is called other scheme. So overall, the scheme is very, very important for principle of ranking. One is categorization, reclassification, rationalization done by SEBI, regulatory SEBI, mutual fund regulatory SEBI, money market mutual funds regulatory is also SEBI. Mutual fund schemes classification, they are asking frequently how many types of mutual funds are there. Means as per the circular, 5 schemes are there. Equity, debt, hybrid scheme, solution oriented and other schemes. Anybody want further reading, please visit this circular and this website. This is about 129 and 130 questions are marketing pricing. Skimming pricing. Skimming. Product is initially at the time of initial market, introduction of the market product, initially the companies are pricing at higher level, and over a period of time it is going to reduce to attract more buyers. So in the initial days, they will put the price higher. Over a period of time, they will reduce the price to attract more buyers. This is called as skimming the revenues in the initial period. That is called market skimming price. Initially high price, then afterward reduced to attract more. That is called skimming pricing. Then market penetration pricing. What is this pricing, penetration pricing? Setting the price low initially. When the new product was started, they will price the low initially in order to penetrate, to attract the market more quickly and deeply, attracting large customers. For attracting the customers large market and to get customers more market quickly, they will keep the pricing low initially. This is called market penetration pricing, opposite to skimming pricing. Skimming pricing means initially pricing is higher. Penetration pricing means initially price is lower. Both are opposite. That is there. Then 130 marketing, VMS, marketing, vertical marketing system. Vertical marketing means just like bank branches. In the bank branches, we are doing different product through branches. We are doing advances, deposits, through many schemes, retail lending, advances, big advances, small, priority sector. So bank selling different products through branches to different customers. Vertical, branches bank. You can say branch banking. That is called vertical marketing system. Horizontal marketing system. What is meant by horizontal? Along with the bank branch banking, banks are doing tie-up with insurance companies. Banks are joining with insurance companies to market their products along with banking products, for marketing the insurance products or non-core products or income-based services. Banks are doing by selling of insurance, life, non-insurance, non-life insurance, life insurance, or non-life insurance. What purpose banks are doing? Only for getting other income, para banking activities. Banks are doing para banking activities for getting other income without any investment or without any capital. That is called horizontal marketing system. Means banks are joining hands with the insurance companies to market their products along with the insurance products. That is called horizontal marketing system. So dear viewers, these are the 15 questions we have discussed today. These questions are very, very important. So far we had uploaded 130 questions. These questions are very useful and very helpful for getting preparation for the forthcoming examination. Thank you very much for all for watching our videos regularly.